What's going on, everybody? Greg Ehrenberg here from Stokastic.com, and we're about to break down the final So Rare slate of the regular season. So as you guys come in, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and don't worry, there's going to be more So Rare contests in the playoffs. But for now, this is the final regular season one. We're talking about Friday, Saturday, and Sunday games, and it's going to be really interesting from a projection standpoint because it's so based on the amount of players that are going to be resting. And some of them we're not going to know ahead of Sunday, say who's going to be in or out. But at least for today, I'm going to show you guys the projections that we have over at Stokastic. These are totally free to check out. So if you guys are building your So Rare lineups, use these as a reference point to find out who it is that we are projecting for the most overall fantasy points, the best points per dollar plays relative to what everybody scored their last 10 average. So I'm going to be walking through that in a second. If you guys haven't signed up at So Rare yet, use the link that we have below, because it is totally free to join So Rare. But if you do decide to buy some player cards, the first 5 limited card players that you purchase, you get a 6th one totally for free when you sign up using our link. So let's walk through the slate. And this is really going to be inherently different than a lot of the other slates that we played so far on So Rare, because it's not just that we know the players are going to be ruled out over the weekend, but because of different motivations, we don't exactly know who it is that's going to be ruled out for some of these Saturday and Sunday games. And it's also really hard to project for that as we're looking through some of our numbers. So what I'm going to try to focus on here is just highlighting for you guys some of the pay-up options that have actual motivation to play in the coming games, or at least do going into the Friday slate. And then also we'll look at just some of the cheap guys that project really well on a points per dollar basis. And keep in mind, some of these could change as more players get ruled out. These are free projections, so go check them out later on the day as well. But looking at the high end of our projections right now, and here's some players that I think we could feel pretty good about. Luka Doncic is, well, there was rumors that the Mavericks were going to be resting guys potentially, but I also think that this was a report that was taken out of context. So Shams had put out well, not a video, but he was on a TV show, and there was a clip that came out where he had said that he thought the Mavericks should consider resting Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving down the stretch of the season. And that got spun into the Mavericks are considering resting them. But I don't think that's going to be the case, particularly not for tonight, because the Mavericks aren't eliminated from the play-in game. Their odds of making are extremely slim. They have to win their next 2 games, and they're also going to need they need to win their next 2, and they need OKC to lose their final game of the season, which is against the Memphis Grizzlies. And there's a good chance that game won't mean anything to the Grizzlies, and they could be resting players. But I do think we have to consider, at least for now, Luka's going to play on Friday. He should play big minutes, with this potentially being the last meaningful game the Mavericks play of the season. He's our highest projected player. If you could only roster one stud this week, or this slate, I should say, Luka would be my guy. And I think we could say similar things about Anthony Davis, because the Los Angeles Lakers, another team in a precarious seeding spot. We could see the Lakers be as high as not even in the play-in game. They could win out the rest of their games. They could get some teams to lose, things break their way, and they could end up being as high as the 5 seed, the Lakers. But things could also go poorly for them. They could lose games, and they could drop all the way to the 9 seed. So I think that when we look at the Lakers, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, these guys are going to play big minutes to finish out the season. AD, another player I think we can feel confident about. I don't feel the same about Joel Embiid. We already know that he's resting on Friday. Who knows what the Sixers are going to do over the weekend, so I wouldn't touch him. Same for Giannis Antetokounmpo. Steph Curry is still somebody you could consider as a pay-up option, but with that in mind, I much prefer Luka Doncic and Anthony Davis, because these are guys who not only have motivation to play, but they're also just better fantasy producers than Steph. We see a pretty big projection gap here. 65 for Luka, 59 for Anthony Davis, and then down to 53.9 for Steph Curry. By the way, the last 10 average, the value columns, I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard me talk about this and you're familiar, but in case you're watching this for the first time, the projections are related to, so last 10 average is the equivalent of the salary over on So Rare. The way that the salaries work is just whatever players have averaged the last 10 games. And this value column, it's the differential we have between the players' projections and the last 10 average. So the higher the value score here, the better plays that people are considered in our projections. So walk through some of these top guys. I like Luka. I like AD a whole lot. I would be avoiding Joel Embiid and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Same with some of these other players. I wouldn't play Jason Tatum, wouldn't play James Harden, wouldn't play Kevin Durant. Just players who are in games that are not meaningful for their teams. And I think that they're fairly apt to sit for maybe even both of these teams' remaining games. So in terms of pay up, let's focus on Luka and AD. Now on the cheap end, there's going to be some weird guys that are projecting really well from a value perspective. and it's entirely due to some resting spots. So the Cleveland Cavaliers have absolutely nothing to play for right now, nothing at all. As a result, we saw them sit basically everybody last night. Evan Mobley didn't play. Jared Allen didn't play. We saw no Donovan Mitchell, no Darius Garland. So that's why we got somebody like Mamadi Diakite projected to do really well over the weekend. Stands to reason the Cavs will continue to rest players. You got Diakite, last 10 average, three fantasy points. The guy is basically free. We've got him projected for 26. He should be seeing extended minutes. He makes sense on the value side. Hard to know what to make of some of the Nuggets guys, but we'll talk about Kendrick Nunn. I'll skip over Peyton Watson. So Nunn, another guy who, but if you guys have been watching my DFS videos live before lock, I have been saying that I think that Kendrick Nunn has been overowned from a DFS tournament perspective. He did have a bit of a dud a couple of days ago, but here's where it's different for so rare purposes. His salary is 9. Very, very cheap. Very, very cheap salary for him. And right now, the injury report for the Wizards, Denny Avdi is out, Bradley Beal is out, Monty Morris out, Kyle Kuzma is out, Kristaps Porzingis is out. None of these guys I expect to play for the rest of the season. With that in mind, Kendrick Nunn, even these 22-ish minutes he's playing per game, he's a good enough fantasy producer to easily be able to pay off a salary of 9. And then I think we could also look at some of the players from the Charlotte Hornets. The Hornets, another team that have been extremely shorthanded. They're holding their guys out down the stretch of the season. Kai Jones, he's playing backup center minutes right now every other day, right? So we're seeing a weird kind of center rotation for the Charlotte Hornets, how they're running their guys are getting out there. Nick Richards, Kai Jones, and Mark Williams, they're all rotating time, but that also keeps the salary pretty low for these guys. So Kai Jones, it is going to be his turn to play extended minutes next, and that makes him somebody who projects really well for us. 33.5 fantasy points, about at a last 10 average of 15. So Kai Jones really valuable. Same deal goes with James Bouknight. James Bouknight just benefiting. No LaMelo Ball, no Gordon Hayward, no Terry Rozier. Bouknight's playing extended minutes. He's made the most of that, and really the first extended run we've seen from him in the NBA. So I like getting to Bouknight. And then Johnny Davis, just going to correlate with what I said about Kendrick Nunn. All the players that are out for Washington, Johnny Davis was the Wizards' first-round pick this year. They've looked to get him bigger minutes as of late, and looking through his recent box scores, we've got Johnny Davis the last few games, just to highlight how much they're prioritizing getting him minutes. The last 2 games, he has played 36 and 37 minutes, and the last game was even in a blowout. He got into some foul trouble. Johnny Davis is somebody who the Wizards are prioritizing, giving minutes to here down the stretch of the season. So that highlights the upcoming Sorare slate. It's a fun one, a little bit off versus what we normally see because of the amount of rest and players who are being rolled out and how we do have to set lineups in advance, but it makes it fun, introduces some fun strategies. And if you want to reference our projections, there's a link below to see them, totally free. Don't forget, if you're signing up at Sorare for the first time and you use our link to sign up, you purchase 5 limited cards, you get a 6th player totally for free. That does it for me today. I hope you guys enjoy the upcoming slate. Final games of the NBA regular season. Before you leave here, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Have a great weekend.